piece of candy. Ooh, a 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 piece of candy.
You know how, like, I've been talking about people are kind of bored and infighting is picking up right now because the left really hasn't been up to too much other than, you know, sending billions of dollars back over to Ukraine. Well, here's something you need to get involved with. You need to leave a like on this video, and you need to take this video and you need to share it on social media, because there's a massive, massive new censorship law looking to get crammed through this Wednesday. And it is one of the worst, bills I've ever seen. It is called the Kids Online Safety Act. You know, how do I say it? Like, the cuter the name, the worse it is. This is very bad. Think digital IDs for everybody. It's basically the next step to, you know, social credit score, having to give your kids' information to the government so that they can access the free internet. Have you left a like on the video yet? Have you shared the video yet? Pause the video, get it out there on social media. We need to have everyone reaching out to their Congress people, their House representatives. This is nuts. I wrote, fun fact, while we're all arguing about H-1Bs, the House is set to try and cram through the Kids Online Safety Act this Wednesday. This will require effectively digital IDs to work, forcing all people to use the internet, who use the internet, to have an ID on file with the government for, quote, safety. And it also obfuscates the key issues. It wants to age verify everybody, but of course, that's what it wants to do. And we'll read what Rand Paul has to say about it. I will be talking about this live tonight on live stream. I live stream every day at 1 Eastern over on Rumble, but also I co-broadcast the Quarter Cast. So for YouTube only viewer, please do subscribe to Quarter Cast. Tonight we'll be live at 8 Eastern as well as 1 Eastern. So I hope that you'd tune in. Senators rush to pass Kids Online Safety Act face criticism over censorship and age verification issues. Opponents warn of censorship, age verification risks, and a potential threat to free speech and data privacy. Oh, it's so much worse than that. A push is underway right now in the House of Representatives to pass the Kids Online Safety Act before the mandate of current Congress expires in early January. That means this Wednesday. To this end, Senator Marsha Blackburn, a Republican who, along with Democrat Senator Richard Blumenthal, led the charge to get the bill adopted by Senate in July, has penned another opinion piece almost entirely crafted as yet another think of the kids talking point. Buried in the article meant to demonstrate the urgent need of adopting KOSA by linking young ones' online presence with everything from anxiety to depression to cognitive decline to trafficking and drugs, is a mention of one key criticism of the bill, namely that it will bring more censorship. Blackburn acknowledges that this is a concern and has kept KOSA stalled for months in the House, but then quickly dismisses the reasons as, quote, blatant falsehoods spread by big tech lobbyists. Equally quickly, the senator reveals that the bill that the Senate passed has been, quote, updated in order to dispel those same censorship concerns. The gist of those changes appear to be make the bill less overbroad and vague, which is how censorship of protected speech could creep into its implementation if it becomes laws. Hardly a big tech lobbyist, the digital rights group EFF in September warned that mitigating online harms is something that needs to be done, but without violating the First Amendment. The version of KOSA that was in the House at the time, the group said represented an unconstitutional censorship bill that gives the FTC and potentially the state attorneys general the power to restrict protected online speech they find objectionable. The second major objection to KOSA is something that Blackburn didn't touch on in her opinion piece. I wonder why. Age verification. In order for platforms to comply and restrict young people from accessing certain content, they'd of course be able to ascertain a user's age, right? Digital ID, folks. The only reliable way to do this would be to ID everyone on the internet by forcing them to upload personal data, proof of government-issued security documents, and it would create a whole new world of online harms concerning both data safety, but also government overreach beyond censorship and potentially into new forms of mass surveillance. This is a bill. Okay, this was updated December 18th. Congress moves forward on Kids Online Safety Act. This bill has 70 co-sponsors. 70. Lots of Republicans, lots of Democrats. This is bipartisan agreement on forcing you to have your kids upload their identification to the internet so they can access it. And then the government would then be involved in everything your kid wants to browse, and obviously would track all of that, I suspect. Proponents of the bill believe it's necessary to safeguard children from harm that could result from platforms' relentless quest for user attention. Well, what about parents? Parents could just keep their kids off the internet. If you're that worried about your kid, then keep them off the internet. It's pretty easy to do. Critics argue that KOSA not only erodes internet freedoms, but could also prevent young ones from, particularly LGBTQ minors, from accessing potentially life-saving information. Okay, well, now maybe I'm for it. I'm kidding. I assume they're talking about, getting all that sweet information about, healthy young kids having double mastectomies. Indeed-led co-sponsor Senator Marsha Blackburn has publicly justified KOSA on the basis that we should be protecting kids from trans culture, from the trans in this culture. What? The current text of KOSA creates a duty of care for platforms, requiring them to take reasonable steps to mitigate a specific list of harms to young ones. Those include cyberbullying, exploitation, and eating disorders. On top of that, it would mandate certain kinds of parental tools. This obviously, hey, you want to tell platforms they got to do this, that, or the other thing. I don't agree with that. This is a free market. I'm not a fan of this at all. On top of that, it would require certain types of parental tools, require the highest level of privacy settings to be on for kids by default, and let young users have a say in whether or not they get their personalized recommendations through algorithmic feeds. Regardless of what happens in the Senate, the House of Representatives is adjourning for the August recess ahead of schedule. It's set to return mid-September. This was other stuff. Here's December 18. Their Kids Online Safety Act's last stand. I implore people to do whatever it takes to not have, contact your whoever you have in Congress or whatever you have in the House of Representatives. Here you have Rand Paul writing, in current day and age, there's a lot of talk about kids having access to social media. We've all seen this pose inherent dangers to mental health and safety of young people. At such an early age, they simply aren't equipped to deal with predators, especially, spicy content, other things online. Over the years, we've seen data that shows even just the use of cell phones in schools directly correlates with psychological harm to kids. In light of these findings, legislation of the Kids Online Safety Act has emerged with the promise of keeping our youth protected from harm. Now I have to pay for this? Oh, Rand. This bill does not merely regulate the internet. It threatens to suppress important and diverse discussions that are essential to a free and healthy society. This is Rand Paul. This is why a legion of advocacy groups on the left and the right oppose KOSA. This is wild. I mean, this is just not even like the first either. Like, here you have New York Governor Kathy Hochul, signs another controversial online safety bill. This was Friday. The controversial legislative package signed by New York Governor Kathy Hochul is likely to once again ignite concerns over free speech. Just like the last time she tried to enact such legislation, it promotes censorship under the guise of online safety. Among the measures are a bill mandating social media companies disclose their terms of service regarding so-called, quote, hate speech, and submit detailed reports to the state attorney general. I mean, what? In the press release, Hochul's office borrowed a term from the pro-censorship UK government and touted the legislation as a step towards, quote, online safety, but many people see it as a tool for stifling expression. The term hate speech, often deployed in ambiguous and subjective ways, have frequently been used to suppress dissenting opinions. This bill empowers both government entities and social media giants who arbitrarily regulate free speech. New York Senator, he pointed out, opponents of this legislation view these arguments as pretext for imposing sweeping censorship measures. They argue that handing more control over speech to the government officials and powerful corporations undermine fundamental freedom of speech protections. Yeah. It's always think of the kids. It's always think of the kids, isn't it? Please, 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 won't somebody think of the kids? How about their parents think of the kids? This is a wild, they're trying to push this through Wednesday this week. And they're probably going to do it. Why is this the most regressive and awful legislation? It's titled in such a way, in such good language. This is like the Inflation Reduction Act. They never intended to do what it said. This is another grotesque scam. 100% agree. Here's the text, by the way, you can read online. It's out there, S.1409. It's insane. And once they start requiring websites to do this, websites will just start blocking sites or country. All of this is while we're arguing about H-1Bs. We need to refocus into this. This bill cannot pass. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and don't forget to subscribe to Quartercast. We'll talk to you again real soon.